Vroom!
Zoom.
Hello, and welcome back to discussing the fact that Max is going to be a dad real soon.
Maddie, that's actually on topic. But no, this is a prediction episode.
So we can predict that Max is having his baby soon.
Hello and welcome back to 17 to 1. I am your host, Julia, and I know a lot about F1. This is your co host,
Maddie! And I'm knocking myself down from 5% to 1 because I failed my quiz last week. And if you know anything about Asians, it's either 100 or nothing. So therefore, I know 1% of F1.
but she's learning ever more, and she does way better at predicting the winners of the races than I do.
That's true.
So today we're going to be going over our predictions and how those ended up coming out from the Saudi Arabian GP 2 weekends ago, and what our predictions going into Miami this weekend are going to be. In Saudi Arabia, I had an utter fail. I did not get a single person correct. I had predicted a George Russell P1, Kimi P2, and Lando Norris P3. All three of those drivers did not have the weekend that they had wanted, and they really let me down. So I am 0 for 0 this weekend. How about you, Maddie?
My choices really came and represented. I had guessed an Oscar P1, a Lando Norris P2, and a Charles Leclerc P3 because he's been sad lately. And lo and behold, I got an Oscar P1, a Max Verstappen P2, and a Charles Leclerc P3, who did a beautiful overtake of George Russell.
So, adding those to our tally board, where 1 point for every driver that ended up on the podium and 2 points for correct driver plus correct position, we end up with Maddie still leading ahead of me on our leading board. So, moving forward into Miami, that is going to be this weekend. We have multiple predictions to make. It is a sprint race weekend. So that means that we can predict who our sprint winner is going to be and who our race winner is going to be. Yes, Maddie?
We make a prediction if Maddie remembers the difference between qualifying and sprint racing.
Do you remember?
Sprint race is an actual race. So you have like a sprint qualifying lap before the sprint race, and then you have the sprint race. Qualifying is just like you do in any regular, like different qualifications of running or swimming or anything else. You just have one qualifying though in three different quarters. So you can get the first position, which is pole. First without being first.
Very nicely done. So on Friday, we are going to be having our sprint qualifying session. And then on Saturday will be the sprint race and the race qualifying session.
Oh, wait. They're doing the sprint race and then the race qualifying?
Yeah,
That's a lot of racing in a hot car.
that is a lot of racing in a hot car. It is supposed to be pretty decently warm in Miami, I believe. I think it was around 80s. So not as hot as the previous weekend in the Middle East, but still pretty warm. Yes, Maddie.
Yo, you know what would be wild? Okay, so you know how because of global warming, there are theories that Florida is slowly going to be sinking into the ocean? Okay, imagine the racetrack, just like a thin layer of water. Just like,
Well, fun fact, currently there is a 40% chance, depending on whose radar you look at, of thunderstorms on Sunday. On that note, we're going to start our predictions. So, Maddie, for the sprint race, first name that comes to your mind, P1.
wait, okay, hold on. Does Oscar have a special helmet made? Did he have a special helmet made for the Miami GP?
If he did, he hasn't released it yet. You got to keep an eye out for those curses.
I know. That's why I asked.
Maddie, no dilly dallying. P1, sprint race. Who's getting it?
Max,
P2,
Oscar,
P3,
joke on you. Um,
5, Four.
George.
So we've got Max, Oscar, and George Russell.
All right, Julia. Off the top of your head, P1,
Lando Norris,
P2,
Oscar Piastri,
P3.
Kimi Antonelli.
Excellent. Well, you heard it here, folks, from Julia herself. She's going for a P1, Lando Norris, P2, Oscar Piastri, P3, Kimi Antonelli. Therefore, you can possibly see them not on the podium.
In fact, you're almost guaranteed not to see any of them on the podium.
Well, hey, there have been a few times you've guessed Oscar and Lando, and they just have not been in the right placements.
This is very true. Very true.
All right. Speaking of, I'm beating you to it. We're going to go for our race finals instead of the sprint race. So, Julia, we're going to work our way backwards, spice it up a little. P3 for the actual race. Who do you think will win?
You caught me off guard with this P3 first bullshit.
This is not the first time this has happened. Stay on your toes.
Max.
Oh, P2.
Lewis.
P1.
I am going to say Charles, but I have good reason for saying Charles. There have been a couple of signs. They're not strong signs, but they are little signs.
I was going to say, have you been seeing strong enough signs for this?
Before he won in Austin, I saw a Fiat Dino, which if you know anything about the Dinos, they run the Ferrari Dino engines. And then last weekend, I saw the same exact car. Okay? Same exact car. Which feels compelling to me. I don't know.
If Charles gets P1, I will buy you a Labubu.
Thank you. On that note, Maddie, it's time to do your predictions. Buckle up. P3 for the race. Who's taking it?
George Russell.
P2.
Max Verstappen.
P3. P1.
Oscar Piastri.
Interesting. The boy in orange. Yet again. I think it will be interesting to see if he can keep up this streak of good qualifying, good race results, especially if it ends up being rainy. We might be in for a proper Australian redemption.
Fudge, I forgot about the racing. I am interested to see it too, especially since when I came in about halfway through the season last year, Oscar already seemed like a menace on his own. But I feel like right now, the start of the season, he is just on it and he is gunning for whatever he is gunning for. There seems to be a slightly different shift than what I saw the latter half of the season last year.
Boy spun off during his home race, came in 9th, and from that point forward, he was like, never again. And it's working for him. He really was like, from this point forward, no fuck ups.
He's literally like, we are locked in.
Exactly.
Now, before we end this closing ceremony of predictions, I would like to make another prediction.
Hit me.
Do you think Liam Lawson will end up on our champions or our crash out list? Or will he not be mentioned at all?
Ooh. See, at this point, I feel like if he even just gets a point, he'll make it onto our champion list. And if he doesn't, he's going to continue his run. I feel like this. I feel like he's going to have a bad sprint race, but a decent real race.
Just a feeling, or do you have
just a vibe?
Just a vibe.
What do you think?
I really don't know. I feel like he will have maybe a decent sprint race. I think qualifying will be a little bit better. And I think he might start out with a good race pace and something's gonna happen. Because I almost feel like he is at the point where who knows about his confidence? If he's still got like tremendous amount of like confidence, good for him because he has had it rough to the point that all these like mistakes that are being made or like these things, I feel like he's trying to overcompensate to get back to where he was. And so it's just like such a vicious cycle.
I agree. I do think that we saw him getting a bit of his old spark back last weekend. So time will tell for little Liam Lawson. All right. On that note, let us know your predictions, who you think is going to end up in our top three, and any other random tidbits that you think might end up happening this weekend. Let us know. We're curious.
We're always curious. Reach out to us, talk to us. We literally have nothing going on in our lives. Does that
Facts.
make us sound desperate?
Yes. This has been 17 to 1. Bye.
See ya.